Story 1. Do whatever it takes to get better sleep. Better sleep enables everything else to be easier, such as work and fitness. I recently switched to decaf and I'm sleeping so much better. I was obsessed with coffee and I love making it with a burr grinder, a scale, 90 degrees Celsius water, and an AeroPress. But I had to come to terms with the reality that caffeine was messing me up. Story 2. Knowing yourself to your core, like really truly knowing yourself. Your gifts, flaws, areas where you can and can't improve, and why you are who you are, with no stone unturned. And after all that, being comfortable with it. To me, that was cracking the code. Not easy, but worth it. Story 3. 1. Tell your partner one thing you appreciate about them every single day. When someone is going through hell, just say, "I am with you." Advice is minimally impactful. The notion that someone is with you is 10 times more powerful. Story 4. Ask for it. Don't be the heads down guy. That's the guy who waits for a girl he wants to show interest first. That's the guy who gets passed over for a promotion because he didn't say he wanted it. That's the guy who didn't haggle for his car and lost $1,000 he didn't need to. That's the guy who dies thinking everyone else got lucky. Story 5. People underestimate how much you can get done incrementally. Step by step, you will cross mountains. Just spend 15 minutes a day practicing something, and by the end of 2 years, you will be pretty decent at it. Disregard motivation, acquire discipline. No one is always motivated, but if you are disciplined enough, you will power through it day by day. Story 6. Having the courage to just make the leap in anything. This could be women you think are out of your league, starting a business, anything. I know several people who run their own businesses that I know I'm smarter and more capable than. They just had the courage to make the leap, whereas I do not. Story 7. The cheat code is self-acceptance, which leads to not judging yourself and not judging others. When you stop judging others, you invite peace into your life. Story 8. Learn to enjoy being alone and not lonely. It is the best skill to have. It provides so much freedom because it creates so much emotional independence. Story 9. Stoicism, the original cheat code, is not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. Recommended reading: The Practicing Stoic, How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, Meditations, A System of Logic on What the World Really Is, changed my life and saved it as well. Story 10. Literally just discipline and initiative. For 90% of people, myself included, the cause of most of their problems is a lack of discipline and initiative, and the solution is to be disciplined and take action. Story 11. Invest early. Whether it's with money, education, or physical fitness, small inputs early can have a huge effect later in life. I was convinced that youth was meant to be lived and experienced, so I lived a somewhat bohemian lifestyle in my early 20s. My thought was that I would regret not having experienced life and would pass up a bunch of opportunities that wouldn't be available when I got older. While it's partly true, I missed a lot of other opportunities and closed the door on more later in life from not making the investment in these 3 areas early on. Story 12. Be born rich and beautiful. If you are not those things, do your best. You can always get lucky and make a difference with the help of your rich and beautiful friends and employers. Story 13. Having control of your perspective on life. I'm not completely sure what allowed me to develop my mental resilience, but I wish everyone else had it. I used to be able to endure things even with a negative mindset, but I managed to evolve from that and truly see the positives in just about any situation. I don't fully remember what the mental shift was, but realizing how everything is temporary made everything I enjoy much better to experience, and everything I disliked a lot more tolerable since it too is guaranteed to not exist one day. This realization forced me to understand that every day is a day to experience, and every choice is a decision to guide your future. This thinking allows me to simultaneously take life seriously and also enjoy pretty much every day to some extent. Story 14. Give up on comparing your life and yourself to other people. Your journey is your own, and it's entirely unique and yours to mold however you'd like. Forget how other people view your interests and hobbies, as long as you're not hurting yourself or other people. Story 15. I've lived 42 years now as a white American male, and I can honestly say that is the easiest of advantages. Just smooth sailing all the way, man. If I didn't feel so bad about it, I'd take advantage more often. And it feels like cheating too. Story 16. Accountability. When you look at your problems through the lens of, I could have done better there, instead of projecting it on everyone else, you actually begin to improve. I take responsibility for everything that happens to me. It doesn't matter how bad I was treated. I'll put it on my shoulders and use that as fuel to become a better person. Story 17. If you can see communication breakdowns in real time and address them, you can prevent a lot of things from spiraling out of control and look much smarter. I get amazing reviews every performance evaluation simply because I stop meetings when I think key people aren't getting the fundamental messages they need to. I have people reiterate what they were saying, or I use a different tactic where I rephrase what they said and ask them to confirm my understanding. The purpose of my rephrasing is to make sure it is explained in a different way that the rest of the stakeholders can understand while allowing them to save face. I sit in a lot of meetings where high-ranked people are scared to ask for clarification because they fear looking stupid. I will happily create a situation for them where they get to hear things explained again in a way they understand that will bring them back to the table. It moves projects along faster, and I get a lot of private comments thanking me for doing it. Come review time, I cash in those chips and get bigger raises or promotions. Story 18:1. Graduate from high school. 2. Get a job. 3. Get married. 4. Don't have any children until after you get married. Bonus. Be raised by a mother and father who love each other, love you, and care about your success. That's out of your control, of course. Story 19. Removing toxic people from your life. Take care of your health, exercise, travel, and change your job if it makes you stressed. Have deep conversations with loved ones. Peace. Story 20. There are 2 real cheat codes in life. 1. Being born rich. This allows a secondary advantage called networking. Being physically attractive. Everything else is just learned habits that are beneficial. Story 21. Healthcare professional here, but honestly, getting that minimum of 7 to 8 hours of sleep literally makes me feel like I'm in God mode. My mental state, mood, brain firing on all cylinders, and enables my muscles to exert their true potential. Especially if you're working out and trying to gain muscle, the majority of the muscle repair and growth process occurs during your valuable sleep hours. Ironic, I know, but I wasn't taking care of myself much in the sleep department, getting around 4 to 6 hours of sleep during workdays, but the weekends are where I'd catch up on sleep and try to pay off sleep debt. Not a long-term feasible solution. The reason I slept so little was fear of missing out, but in regard to being productive in my day, life, side hustles, and journey towards financial freedom. But I understand now that my tires are just spinning in place with suboptimal levels of sleep. 7 to 8 hours of sleep is a mandatory investment for maximum performance. All caps because it really is so important. Story 22. There is no cheat code. You will suffer whatever you do. Accept that bad things will happen and try to move on the path. What blocks the way becomes the way. Story 23. Not having kids. I have less stress, less debt, fewer responsibilities outside of work, more sleep, more money, more time, more hobbies, more interests, more toys, more freedom, and higher spontaneity. This is the maximum level of pandemonium in my house. Story 24. Serve Christ as Lord and find a partner who will do the same. Work hard to support your family and community. Honor God in your life and love Him above all else. Not only will you know true contentment in this life, you will have it in the next one. 2. Story 25. I'll tell you about romantic relationships with women. Never let her fool you, even about the smallest things. Never tolerate the smallest amount of disrespect. Walk away. Obviously, if she's joking or teasing for fun, it's different. I am assuming you know the difference between a joke and disrespect. Making fun of your shirt is a joke. Giving her number to another guy while she's dating you is disrespect. Love her but never be dependent on her for anything. It's okay to share responsibilities, but your income, property, and happiness are your responsibility. With or without her, it must be mostly unaffected. If you are planning to get married, consult the best divorce lawyers before marriage and get a prenuptial agreement. which includes a mandatory DNA test of all children and a clause that a cheating partner gets nothing after divorce. You need a lawyer because local laws are different everywhere. Never cry in front of a woman. Never share your secrets. Women can't keep a secret. Story 26. Super cliché, but attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Of course, there are some bad things, but overall, such a cheat code. Like being able to remember every detail from something you're excited about. Hyperfocus, free cheat code. Mnemonics your brain makes, being able to handle stress situations super easily, etc. etc. Bad examples here, but trust me, such a cheat code in life. Disclaimer, once you learn how to work with it, it can also be your biggest downfall. Been there, done that. Story 27. If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. So, from my personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you. Story 28. Stop worrying about others' opinions. Who cares if the people on the bus are giving you a weird look because you're slightly head-bopping to a good song? Do you first, worry later? Oh, and don't make nonsensical choices. Story 29. Does it have to be ethical or morally right? Because, oh boy, I have one for the married men. Prostitutes. I know you all are going to hate it, but I was having a discussion with a good friend of mine who migrated. And in the discussion, we came up with the conclusion that there are a few true facts that apply to men. Men need a new experience every now and then. Men can't be fully sexual with their significant others. Men need side interests because it helps them do better in their relationships. There are exceptions to the rules stated above, of course. This is where prostitutes come in. Of course, you are going to have to develop your own private set of rules to abide by in order to not disrupt your happy life with your spouse, but when perfected, it can work. Again, I know this is a totally messed up thing to say and even brand as a cheat code in life, but I am telling you it can work on so many levels out here. Story 30. Make the best choices possible. No crimes, no debt, no bad habits, and no children too early. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't do more for people than they do for you. Young children and old parents are the exceptions. Story 31. Outside of things you can't control, like being born into generational wealth, be kind, be positive, be productive, go to the gym every day, and do some mushrooms every once in a while to ground yourself with the universe. Story 32. Being born into a wealthy family. That's it. Some people are born with the collector's deluxe edition in the game of life with everything unlocked, while the rest of us are just the retail version where we have to grind to unlock everything with the difficulty set to very hard. Story 33. I would say invest in yourself early on. Being that little bit ahead of the pack gets you way more opportunities, which in turn develop you further and give more opportunities and so on. Story 34. Guarantee to middle class is really simple. 1. Finish high school. 2. Do not get addicted to drugs or alcohol. 3. Do not have kids until after you are married. Story 35. Height. Literally, you get all the women by default since that is all they care about, and you get respected more and are more likely to get promoted in jobs. Story 36. Emotional intelligence, being fit, trying your best to look attractive, making money, having good relationships, and having wide and good-ranging experiences that will help you have a better personality. That last part may be the biggest one. You are a lot more malleable than you think, people. Story 37. To love easily and be easy to love. This is hard. Really hard. Like deep down hard. And it requires being stupid and naive on purpose. But it can make the difference between a life of closeness and belonging and one of loneliness. Story 38. Having ambition. It's more important than any other singular trait when determining someone's success. For something great to happen, you have to want it. Story 39. Getting your face out of your phone, pulling your head out of your biases, forgiving others and yourself, and executing the things you want and think about. Dreams should be goals because you are going to figure it out with all that free time you created. Story 40. In life overall, it would be being intelligent, acquiring knowledge, and learning from everything you can, or being creative and witty. But in life nowadays, it's just being born to a very wealthy family that will pay your way to a nice life, I guess. Story 41. Reading a good book and diving deep into the story really helps me disconnect from my own life for a bit and helps me relax, which I feel is really important in life, being able to truly disconnect from all the issues. Story 42. If your cheat code is to speed run and skip to the ending as fast as possible, that code input is suicide, but it's not recommended. You'll miss the end credits. Story 43. Life is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, not player versus player. There will be times when you will have enemies, but life is more about working with people and collaborating. You can play the game alone, but it makes the game much harder. You also don't really gain benefits from playing all the content solo, but ironically, more disadvantages. Join a group, create one, or go solo, but know that the difficulty can be artificial for solo players. Story 44. Honestly, not worrying. I know some people with difficult lives, but they're also the happiest because they just don't seem to care if things work out or not. In their head, it always works out even if it never actually did. Story 45. Make yourself happy. Do what it takes, make yourself your first priority, and figure out and do whatever it takes. Now, it may be a very long-term goal, but if it's worthwhile, do it.